So Echo 360 has been around for about 10 years. We serve about 250 colleges in 30 countries, so we are global, so the language issue is really important to us. And what we had done traditionally before this service existed was we would record everything that happened in the classroom, what the teacher said, what the students said, what the presentation material was projected up, and then the students would use that for review purposes, right?
Yep.
So STEM classes in undergrad all the way through medical school, so medical school students use this very heavily. And the challenge is it's very hard to find what you need in video. Video is a black box, it's hard to search. And so we had always traditionally used keywords that a professor would type in, or the title of the presentation, or sometimes we'd try and chapter the lesson over the course of about an hour. Some lectures were as long as 2 hours, but it was still very hard to find very specific concepts within a video. So what we've traditionally done historically was we could on occasion send the file out to get translated for closed captioning purposes, which is the thing you see scrolling the bottom of your television if you turn it on. That's very, very expensive. It's like $60 an hour plus.
Wow.
So very few videos ever get translated. And we typically capture north of 1 million hours of content a year across all of our customers. So what we're doing with this solution, which is fantastic, is we've been an AWS partner for quite a number of years, is we're now going to actually be able to transcribe everything at much lower cost. So now what can a student do? One, a student can find a concept across videos. Which videos have this concept in it versus this concept? Then within a video, they can find exactly where they need to go to, because time is of the essence, right? They're trying to find that 5-minute segment that they didn't really master the first time that they want to review. And then the third thing we hope to do long term is, because of the accuracy is so high and getting better with the machine learning, we'll be able to actually get ourselves to a closed caption ready file at a fraction of the cost. So instead of $60, it's probably going to be 1/10 that or less.
That's fantastic. And I can tell you, as someone who is actually experiencing that right now, my process without you guys having this great service and you using it is I literally sit in a video and like pause, write notes, start, pause, because most times, to your point, there is no closed captioning, there's nothing to do there. So even as on the consumer on the other side, it's really painful.
So what students are starting to do now, because we've been doing this kind of in beta, is instead of taking copious notes or trying to be the court stenographer, typing really fast or writing really fast, what we allow you to do is bookmark very rapidly while you're watching the lecture live or remotely if you happen to be a distance learner. Then you'll see the transcription pane to the right, and if you want, you can copy snippets of it into your private notes.
I'm sold.
So you don't have to type anything.
I'm totally sold. All right, that is fantastic. So I want to go back to the new features. So obviously, if someone has been playing with this and they were lucky enough, and I'm sure you guys, ate the dog food here as well, kind of talk about where we went from preview. You talk about, the language, you talked about the speed, you talk about us getting really much better at doing this. Talk about some of the other things that people won't notice right off the bat that was really essential for the launch of the features coming from preview to now.
We kept iterating on the models, of course, with feedback from customers. That's what preview helps us do. Where, we've tested it, it works great, but now how does it work in the real world on real use cases with audio that's got a lot of noise in it, with audio that's compressed. Right? So based on all that feedback, we've iterated, made these models more accurate. So the word error rates have really improved, so much higher accuracy. That's something that's not immediately visible, but a lot of work goes into it behind the scenes. And of course, the 2 new features that I was talking about, which are real differentiators where a lot of customers, especially from contact centers, right? So they want to analyze the phone call and say, okay, my agent said this, and this is what my customer said, right? Because without that differentiation, it becomes really hard to analyze what happened in that call or who said what. So these features are really helpful to customers, and that's why we launched them as part of the GA.
So I'm sure accuracy is important for you.
Yeah, it really is. And the challenge that we have is threefold. One is the audio file is not as robust as what you see here, right? Just imagine a professor with a normal mic walking around. Second is a lot of professors are English as a second language, or they have a very heavy accent. Think science and engineering classes, right? The third is they use a very, very cryptic lexicon and a lot of acronyms. So you could get all the consonants right and then all the keywords wrong. And the keywords are what the student needs, right? So the fact that there's this machine learning, you can put in a private library, so you can load it with what they're likely to say based on the textbook, because we have a digital copy of the textbook. We can really move the accuracy. And once customers hear that you're when we did tests early on, tests in the high 80s, early 90s, with all those complexities, not the normal 7th or 8th grade vocabulary, think a PhD vocabulary, people were just ecstatic. because to get 98% accuracy is that $60 I mentioned before,
yeah.
right? So anything in the 90 range before we start to do these kind of custom libraries is stellar, and the hope is that as we load it up with more content and other people do, that'll always get better.
That's lovely. That's fantastic.